Welcome to Third Eye Roll, where ancient wisdom gets decoded, demystified, and occasionally roasted. I'm Dr. Justine Limos with Scarlett Trilia, here to serve up Vedic insights, spiritual real talk, and a healthy dose of side-eye. Each episode, we're diving into Vedic astrology, Ayurveda, Tantra, and the weird beauty of being human, with segments like cosmic, current events, story time with the Vedas and Shastras, WTF is that? And a mystic mic drop to leave you lit. No gurus, no fluff, just the good stuff. Welcome back to Third Eye Roll. I'm Dr. Justine Limos. I'm here with Scarlett Trilia, and we're here to take you on a wonderful wild ride throughout the skies and our own physical bodies as we dive into today's transits, what's happening right now in the sky and what's happening right now on the ground. How are you?
I feel like I'm somewhere in between the ground and the sky right now. Whatever that means.
It's a good place to be.
It's a good place to be. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. We're just right after this powerful solar eclipse that happened in a place in the sky known as Uttara Falguni. Of course, we're right after the fall equinox.
I heard that it's technically today, which is also supposed to be the day of the Rapture. Did you hear about that?
Sure.
Is it the Rapture right now?
I heard something about that.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I didn't make it into the Rapture.
I guess not.
I did. I don't know.
I didn't know that Raptures got scheduled on like specific dates. Tuesday, the 23rd of September, 2025 is not the way I met. I thought the Rapture was a little bit
You thought it was a little spontaneous?
I thought it was a little more spontaneous. I thought it was a little bit beyond the confines of like one calendar, you know? But apparently, also, I didn't know that the equinox could just fall on any old day. So today is theoretically the equal day night moment and the Rapture. We did come just like a
Big
news, a bonus thing going on. We did just come out of this partial solar eclipse. There's a lot of transits happening. The Western astrology zeitgeist is up in arms about Mars entering Scorpio, but by our calculations, we're a few months away. So
yeah,
like that's also confusing.
So hold up there.
Hold up. Everyone's like, I'm feeling the power. I'm like, that's something else. Sorry. Hate to break it to you, but that's not what's happening. But cool. It's cool. Mars in Scorpio is going to feel great when it actually happens, which is not right now. Also, I think we're going to have to schedule this for I think I'm going to like foreshadow a future episode where I'd like to return to some of the longer term transit themes around Saturn and Saturn's transits.
Sure.
And I'm only bringing that up now because Saturn did have that direct aspect on this recent eclipse.
On the eclipse. Yeah, absolutely.
And so some of the collective themes, even the Rapture, actually, is my favorite theme of the day.
Yeah, apparently you're really feeling this Rapture.
I am. I mean, like I said, I'm somewhere between Earth and the sky, and maybe I'm just on. Maybe I'm in it. Maybe I'm enraptured right now.
I think you are.
I think I am. If you don't hear from me later, you'll know.
So, I looked this up because, I just needed some more what we call schema on this. And actually a South African pastor claimed that Jesus will return on September 23rd to 24th. We've got a window. It's a window.
Okay, there's more time.
2025.
Okay.
And
there's more time.
Apparently social media is blowing up about this. So that's probably how you've heard about the Rapture.
That's how I heard about the Rapture. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, there's some pushback on this because there are biblical passages that says no one knows the day or hour. So, it might not be rapturing today.
Okay. But maybe tomorrow. This kind
Maybe
of
tomorrow.
remember when the world ended in 2012 and also
the
year 2000? It's
2000.
kind of, but also the end of the Mayan
Deltron.
calendar.
My music pick for today is Deltron 3030.
3030. Hey, that's a great choice.
It's so good, especially, Navaratri and fall equinox and this eclipse and possibly the rapture.
Possibly the rapture.
And it's really interesting. I was reading this beautiful verse in the Vijñāna Bhairava Tantra, which is a text from the Tantric period in India. And there's a line in it that said, the threshold is already the entrance. You're already in. If you're at the threshold, you're already in, just as heat is not separate from the fire. They're one thing. Once you are standing at that liminal gateway, that threshold, that betwixt and between, you are already in it.
Oh, I like that.
Isn't that beautiful? Yeah.
Side note, my music pick, I think, is going to be Rapture by Blondie.
Oh, good one. We've got a little Deltron 3030. We've got a little Blondie.
Yeah, we got a little Blondie. Yeah. And I think we just, before we even know what we're talking about, we don't
even know what we're talking about. We're already
but we got the fashion and music and movie picks. Remember in the 90s, there was that cult of people who all literally drank Kool-Aid and then raptured, ascended themselves via suicide.
Jim Jones?
Didn't they all wore white Nikes?
Jim Jones.
Was that Jim Jones?
I believe it was Jim Jones. Well, I mean, that's one, but that was in the 70s. Jim Jones was
this was in the 90s.
Yeah. Down in Texas or something.
Yeah. I think white, I almost bought a pair of white on white Air Maxes, but they were too big at the thrift store. But I think that's my fashion pick. It's the white on white sneakers. For no particular reason. Sorry. I like how you're intensely researching the rapture during our podcast. Okay, so
of course I am.
It's kind of a big one. It's definitely a mythical. It's kind of mythical. Okay, so let's make a little agenda. First of all, maybe this is a disclaimer or just a statement of fact. If you have people in your life, perhaps we are they for you, who have tools and resources and abilities to connect beyond the mundane and the day-to-day and our earthly 3D reality, just know that they are also humans who are also affected by all of the things that are going on. So I'm saying this because while we may have insights and some clarity, we are also very much in whatever is going on in a certain moment, which is to say that also, if your sleep has been affected by the eclipse season, so has mine. If you don't know what's going to happen to your life in 2026, guess what? Neither do I.
Absolutely.
And I think it's worth sharing that because we're living in a world that is full of spiritual leaders, both genuine and false.
Yes, that's
in some sense.
Ooh, false prophets.
False prophets is a theme that I think is actually really relevant to this moment, and maybe that goes back to this Saturn retrograde in Pisces aspecting upon the eclipse.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, one of the tarot readers on YouTube who popped up, if something comes to the very top of my feed when I first open the app, I'll always listen to it or watch it, as just because I think it's interesting what the algorithm thinks I'm supposed to know in a certain moment. And according to this person, something major is going to happen in the next 48 hours. So maybe she was also the rapture. Maybe
the rapture.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
I wanna turn us toward this idea of threshold, this idea of the space betwixt and between, because of the equinox, because of the eclipse, because we are entering into Navaraatri, the 9 nights of the goddess. And that threshold place, that liminal space, is so potent as a moment, culturally and for humanity. And in part, this is the moment between the inhalation and the exhalation, the pause between the breaths.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say that.
Yeah, this is the space of wonder and awe. And that threshold space before thought returns is consciousness, is Bhairava, is that space that could be called Shiva. It's the gap before pleasure becomes craving, or when awe stops your mind.
It's also the space between the construct of time.
Yes.
And another way of describing that experience or even phenomenon that you're speaking to is when you are in the space between binary opposites, the tension that exists, the tension that underlies manifest 3D reality is softened.
Uh-huh. And
so,
I mean, that's Durga. Durga is the archetype who sits at the threshold between ultimate and relative reality in one sense. And it is she who is tough, who rides the tiger between the knowing that everything is everything. And really, from the perspective of quantum physics, we're all one undifferentiated bliss ball. And also, we are living in relative reality where separation appears. And this is why Durga has 10 arms and has every instrument and every weapon to deal with every circumstance. And she sits on her tiger with just a little crescent moon smile in perfect equipoise between the ultimate reality and relative reality. And she sits right there at that threshold. She who is tough, she who is the guardian of that threshold. Because if we fall too far into the idea that we are all one differentiated bliss ball and reality does not exist in the way that it appears, we might not really be ready to bend the matrix, and the bus might run us over if we step in front of it. In fact, I'm pretty damn sure that it will run us over if we step in front of it right now. And yet, at the same time, the bus doesn't exist and we don't exist.
It's a lot to hold. And I was,
and to your point about teachers holding space, we sit at that threshold even perhaps more intensely.
All day, every day.
All day, every day. And then, I just came out of a very intense 3-day Panchakarma, Ayurvedic Panchakarma, 4-day Ayurvedic Panchakarma, where I was working with one client intensively for many, 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 many hours every day to offer them an intensive purification, rejuvenation, and transformation that they received. And this is very deep and thrilling work because we get to pull out all the stops and really dive deep into someone's reality and their tissues.
I taught an equinox workshop this weekend. We spoke to a lot of these themes. So we talked about union of opposites, which is represented to us in the sky at the time of the equinox, where we literally encounter the moment of equal day and night, perfect balance of light and darkness. And having that coincide with a eclipse where, like we talked about, this 108 ratio, we mentioned this in a former podcast, makes the sun and, it aligns the sun and the moon and the earth in these shadows that overlay perfectly, right? Which is kind of another form of witnessing these balances between opposites. That's not the primary purpose or outcome of an eclipse, but the sun and the moon themes were kind of recurring in these different contexts over the last few days. And we talked about that from also the perspective of divine masculine and feminine principles, which exist within all of us. And that space, that liminal space that we were just discussing between the breath, between the inhalation and the exhalation, is also a space where we are poised in a moment of balance between our consciousness and our energy, which are represented, masculine and feminine. We've talked about these themes a lot, but it's a very beautiful but very intense time. I think that there are individual and collective transformations occurring in this moment that are extremely powerful.
Extremely powerful.
Extremely powerful.
And I also, it's quite interesting that the definition and consolidation or attempted consolidation of rigid binaries of masculinity and femininity are some of the most publicly contested, up for grabs definitions and discourse in our culture, in Western culture at the moment.
Mm-hmm. I mean, the macrocosm and the microcosm.
That's right.
Are always interacting. And we could say that our 3D social experience that we're having as a collective, like as a nation or even as a global society, is a microcosm of the universal macrocosm.
Correct.
Or we could also say that what's going on in our society around us is a macro reflection of the harmonization that we have to constantly work to balance inside of our own microcosmic reality.
Mm-hmm. And both
it's both and. And that's why you don't show up for practice once. That's why you show up for it's a life.
Practice all is coming.
Practice all is coming. It takes dedication and constant both repetition and evolution to remain on this path. It's a lifetime commitment. Which I hope is not a deterrent. But once you start, you kind of just have to keep showing up. Yeah, it's a funny day to be giving a podcast because
it really is, isn't it? So shall we talk a little bit about Navarātri that we're coming into?
I think we should talk about Navarātri, and I think that maybe the bridge or the segue is when we speak about divine masculine and feminine, and we've mentioned this before, we've talked about Shiva and Shakti, Purusha and Prakriti, which are the same concepts. And when we begin to talk about the goddess or archetypes of the goddess, we are referring to Shakti in these embodied forms, mythical embodied forms. And I think that's the segue is we're coming in. So, and just to back up, there's just so much going on right now. So this last fortnight that just ended with the new moon on Sunday, which was also the eclipse, which is essentially also the equinox, was the ending of Pitru Paksha and the beginning of Navarātri.
That's right.
Right? Which is the fortnight of the goddess.
9 nights of the goddess.
That's 9 nights. That's true.
Yeah.
And now we're in that. What is, and I think I just hand it over to you to speak to that. So we're basically, we're looking at different forms of the goddess, which are all forms of Shakti.
Forms specifically, there are two different ways of looking at Navaratri. One is that there are 3 nights for each form of Durga, Lakshmi, Saraswati, and that is surely true. And then there's another way to look at Navaratri, which is that they're all nights of forms of goddess Durga. So both are true. But there's some interesting things that happen through Navaratri. So Navaratri, these 9 nights of the goddess, move through the planetary cycles and also move through our nervous system. And so the first night, which was last night, is Shilaputri. And Shilaputri is the daughter of the mountain. And this is widely, this form of Durga, or this goddess, who is the daughter of the mountain or daughter of the mountains, is the root goddess. And she is connected to the moon, to ventral grounding. And this is like polyvagal safety and stillness and baseline co-regulation. The next night is Brahmacharini, the ascetic god. And this is, she's barefoot, she's ascetic, she practices with tapas, with heat. And this is Mars. This is the sympathetic focus. Mobilization of energy, but it's contained. It's our fight impulse turned to devotion. The third night, we move to Chandraganta, Venus, ventral mobilization. This is she who rides into battle. Because, see, all of these forms of Durga are overcoming the quote-unquote demon of our own ego self, of our own our own mistaken self-identification. And so this is anger used protectively, like a healthy fight without just flooding the nervous system, where we stand our boundary just very clearly and peacefully. Kushamanda is the cosmic egg mother, she who has radiant laughter. And this is the sun and its ventral expansion. This is like joyful ventral nervous system activation, like creativity bursting forth. Skandamata is the mother and teacher, and it's Mercury, interestingly. And this is social engagement, safe touch and voice and maternal attunement. Katyayani is the next night, and this is Jupiter, sympathetic assertion. And this is the one who slays the demon Mahasura, who is the buffalo-headed demon of our ego identification. And this is like boundary enforcement without collapse. Kalaratri is the 7th night, and she is the dark night. Kala, darkness, Ratri, night. She who is in terrifying form. This is freeze and dissolution. This is Saturn. It is sacred stillness. So it is when we come into dorsal vagal overwhelm, but we enter into it consciously, where we go into silence, we go into stillness. And actually, when we move into silence and stillness, especially when we first moved into silence and stillness, this can be absolutely terrifying. Then we come to Mahagauri, she, the great one who is white. And this is Rahu, the white luminosity after the dark.
Interesting.
Because it's integration of the shadow. It is the luminosity after the dark. It is nervous system reset after we go into the deep freeze of Saturn. Then Siddhidatri is Ketu, which is transcendence, the bestower of siddhis and mystical grace. And this is integrated state, ventral, sympathetic, dorsal, harmonized, and it is flow and mystical awe. So the arc is we begin grounded, we mobilize fire, we touch the shadow, Saturn and Rahu, and then we end in transcendence with Ketu. And so these are the 9 nights of the goddess, interpreted through the lens of the planets, which are widely accepted as 9 nights of the goddess, 7 visible planets plus the 2 shadow planets, Rahu and Ketu, making 9, and then overlaid with some understanding from polyvagal nerve therapy, which is not traditional, but that's what we do.
I love it. That's what we do. I think it might bear mentioning that we also experience the evolution of the gunas through the 3 phases of the goddess as well.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we want to speak to that. We haven't actually given a lot of airtime to the gunas on this podcast.
We have not.
Should we just do that right now?
Yes.
Or is this too much? Yeah. Yes. Okay. See, this is why we don't make plans, because I'm gonna let you also explain that in this same context, unless you would like me to.
No. Okay. So there are 3 gunas or qualities. There's also a system of 24 gunas, but we'll talk about those 3 main gunas. And those gunas are tamas, that which is contained or stuck or inert, not moving. It's like the container, the pot, the clay pot of the lamp.
The color is black.
Color is black. And this corresponds to the first 3 nights of Navarātri, whose goddess is Durga, Kali. This is darkness and heaviness. And in the first 3 nights of Navarātri, Durga and Kali are invoked to burn through tamas, darkness and fear and sloth and confusion. And, sometimes we need darkness that's more dark than dark to swallow up our darkness. Sometimes we need a fierce anger that's more angry than our anger to swallow up our anger. And this is where these practices, all the way through South Asia, up through, Asia proper, down into Polynesia, we have these appearances of very fierce deities. We do all over the world, but here in particular. And it's very interesting because these fierce deities, like say Kali, any of the fierce deities in the Tibetan Buddhist pantheon.
We talked about Rudra, like ancient forms of Shiva.
They all tend to be dancing. They tend to have the tongue out. They tend to be twisting the body, twisting the shoulders and the hips, which will, if we imitate those stances posturally, release our psoas and release our throat. When a child goes into a tantrum, they do something very clever. They lie down on the floor and they kick their legs and they turn their head from side to side. They're literally releasing the emotion from getting stuck in their psoas and in their throat. Instead, we just freeze up and shove it into our throat and into our psoas. And then when we're 45, we have a blown out back.
Yeah.
And we have a throat that sounds like Gavin Newsom's.
And for context, the psoas is related to our reptilian brain and our mechanisms of fight or flight. And our throat chakra, what just came to mind, I was just talking about music with one of my colleagues, and she mentioned the group Primal Scream.
Yeah.
Which can go on our cultural relevant list for the day. But that's kind of what we're talking about, where we are not permitted to scream in normal social context.
When you come to my panchakarma, you can scream all you like.
Scream.
In fact, I will energetically pull a scream out of you if it is appropriate.
It would probably be appropriate, but like say in a city like London, you can't just willy-nilly be screaming whenever you want because...
Well, people do. They're just coded as insane.
That's true.
Right?
Although even the coded as insane folks in the city are not doing as much screaming as you would hear in, say, California.
Right? Because we let it hang out at least a little bit in California.
Wow, we are on a tear with this
We
podcast.
really are.
Like, how are we going to write up a description for this one? Because I want to I want to keep adding even more context, which is that we may have to have future podcasts that delve deeper into this concept of the gunas, and we can also tie it back. So the Vedic astrological charts that we reference frequently on this podcast are divided also into the 3 cycles of the gunas as we move through the sky.
Yes.
But it came up today in the context of Durga, tamas, Lakshmi, rajas,
which I haven't finished, so I need to go back to. So rajas is activity or desire or passion. If we're talking about a lamp with the clay pot, traditional deepam with the clay pot being tamas, the rajas is the flame. It is the fuel and the flame itself. And so the next 3 nights of Navarātri are dedicated to Lakshmi. And so this is energy and abundance after the tamas is cleared. And so this is the cycle of red, whereas the tamasic is the cycle of black. And then finally the light that shines out from that deepam, that candle. So a traditional candle is a clay pot filled with ghee and a wick that is burnt. The ghee is the fuel and sends out this light. And you can think about like Neolithic people. The night is dark. There is no electrification. If you have a lamp in the dark, this is a miracle. This is a miracle. And it is no wonder that Hatha Yoga Pradipika 14th century text is called Light on Yoga of the Sun and the Moon, or that Iyengar borrowed the name of his book Light on Yoga from Hatha Yoga Pradipika, because a lamp is like, really think about it. If you are, hunter-gatherer, or Neolithic, you have a campfire maybe, but then if you have a lamp, it's portable. You can carry the light with you. So this is very potent magic to carry fire and carry light. So the 3rd phase of Navaratri is dedicated to Saraswati, clarity, light, and balance. And Saraswati is honored for knowledge and refinement and pure awareness. This is from chaos to luminous stillness. So through this cycle, we dissolve tamas, we channel rajas, and we rest in sattva. And so this is Durga into Lakshmi, into Saraswati. This is a purification of the gunas in the mind, in the body, in the nervous system. And by the end, Devi, Mahashakti, that which is all of creation, that which is coded as feminine, rests into Bhairavi, that which is pure awareness, the consort of Bhairava, who is pure consciousness. Did I do it?
You did it. I'm just thinking of, in case anyone hasn't caught on to this, or maybe you're new to the podcast, and if you are new, just pick up, it's like if you're new to the practice, just get in, hop on.
Hop on the tiger.
hop on in. You don't need to go back. You didn't miss anything. It'll come around. Just here we go. We're just going down this river together. This
one that we just recorded is particularly nonlinear, and I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with that too, because we are kind of in a liminal space. We are literally
between the threshold.
We are in the threshold.
Circling back to the threshold of music.
Well, hang on.
30-30. Fashion.
Rapture. White sneakers for the Rapture.
Weren't they in Waco, Texas? Waco, Texas.
Yeah.
Waco, Texas.
Waco, Texas with the white Nikes. I don't know why I remember that so clearly from my childhood. No,
it was a big deal.
But we are literally in between. We are in transitional right now. And so it's like brackish water. Like it's neither the river nor the ocean. It's neither the summer nor the fall. It's neither the masculine nor the feminine. It's neither dark nor light. It's neither hot nor cold. It's neither anything, which is a beautiful state to be in. But it's because it's not tied to a binary identifiable thing. It's very hard to put your finger on what's going on because in our physical manifest reality, we tend to operate from very fixed states. And we're kind of being invited out of that or in to exist between that in this moment, which is why this podcast is feeling probably a little weird. But okay, fashion, movie, music. What movie? It's got to be a movie where they are in multiple dimensions.
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. But you know what came through? Which is...
Wait, The Matrix.
No, we'll save that one. No, we're saving that one. We've used that one. No, what's weird is, and this is like not because of the actual movies themselves, but before sunrise and after sunset, because sunrises and sunsets are also liminal spaces. They are the pause between the day and the night. They are the pause between the inhalation and the exhalation, where fixed binary identities are in question, right?
Yes.
Like you're not day, you're not night, you're dusk, you're dawn, and like if you're not breathing
Sanskrit,
in,
it's called sandhi, which is junction or thresholds. It's between inhale, exhale, between waking and sleeping, between sunrise and right at those points between one thought dissolving and the next one arising. And this is this portal that's very alive with Shakti.
Yeah. And in the coming months, just to bring it, we may sound like we're just on one tangent after another, but it does all connect. In the coming months, the many upcoming transits will pass through the nakshatra called Vishaka, which is the threshold that spans from Libra into Scorpio. So the moon will be there in just another day or two. And in the coming months, we will see the sun move through that space. We will see Mars move through that space, Venus, Mercury. Like half the sky will pass through the threshold as we move between summer and winter through the autumn, right? So just a thought.
And, these Santi, whenever a planet is in the last 1 degree of a sign or the first 1 degree of the next, it's like this transitional moment where it's like they're standing in the door of the next room, the next house, the next placement, and they're not fully in or out. And this is this very important in-between place where there's a portal. We need to have instability to create shift. We need to have instability to create shift. When we just did Panchakarma, we have to disturb the body a bit. We have to disturb the doshas. We have to provoke the body in order for there to be change. If we just leave everything as it is, everything stays the same. And when there is imbalance, disease, problems in society, in the body,
we can just keep doing the same thing and get the same results and have whatever is festering grow and grow. Or there can be provocation to necessitate change. I think I have a feeling that that's going to resonate with some of our listeners. And maybe like we didn't think of a movie.
Ooh, we didn't think of a movie.
Unless we want to go with the before sunrise, after sunset theme, which is kind of divine masculine and feminine.
I like
I'm just
that.
saying. Yeah,
I like
I'm just
that.
saying. It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that being asked to sit in a liminal stage of your life, whether it's hours, days, weeks, it might be weeks at this moment, of kind of not knowing, is something that we are not invited to do in a kind of standardized way by our society, but is actually incredibly natural. And we've talked about this in so many different ways. We talk about Gandantas, we talked about eclipses, we've talked about transitions, we're talking about thresholds. These are all aspects of that. And I think if there was ever a time to just give yourself permission to just be in the throes of change without knowing what, it's like, somebody described this really well recently. It's like when a butterfly is emerging from a cocoon and it's still kind of sticky.
Yeah.
I actually said this to somebody the other day. It's like, you're going to bust out of there, but you might have to like kind of struggle out of the cocoon a little bit. It's like
That's
there's like
right.
bits and pieces of it stuck to you, and you got like, we're kind of in between, like shaking it off. Or being in a state of metamorphosis is incredibly weird, but essential, right? And I think that in so many ways we're experiencing that as a collective right now. And even our great anchors, interestingly, our great anchor planets that move slowly, like Saturn, is in retrograde, right? And moving into a threshold degree of Pisces over the next few months. Jupiter is about to be at 29 degrees in Gemini in the next few weeks. So even our big, great anchor planets are also in the threshold.
Yes. There's a crack in everything. That's where the light gets in. Leonard Cohen.
What song is that?
What's the name of the song?
What's the name of the song? If you said it, I would know it. But that's a nice. Oh, yeah. That's a nice song for this.
Right.
Although I think going with Primal Scream is.
I like Primal Scream.
So way to recommend. I got to look up. I'll just close out with this one. What's like a great song to. Oh my goodness. Ooh, right. Moving on Up is the top played Primal Scream song on Spotify. That's a nice theme, Moving On Up. If you want to upgrade, that means inevitably you have to let go of the things that are not
right.
Like, yeah, that you're outgrowing.
That's right.
So you kind of do have to move on up and out. Okay, I like that one.
I like that too. That's good.
Okay.
I mean, we could, for movie, it could be like Kill Bill.
Ooh. Okay.
Righteous battle.
It could be Kill Bill.
Fight response.
Oh my goodness.
All right, I think we've done it.
Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya.
We'll be back next week with more fun.
Okay, bye.
That was